Every second of your life, blood races through nearly 60,000 miles of blood vessels inside your body. Most people imagine arteries as simple pipes carrying blood away from the heart, but they are far more than that. They are living tissue, constantly sensing, responding, repairing, and making millions of microscopic decisions every single day. The remarkable part is that many of those decisions help determine whether your arteries stay healthy or slowly begin the process that can eventually lead to heart attacks and strokes. But here's something most people never hear. If the damage has not progressed too far, your arteries can begin functioning better surprisingly quickly, not by performing miracles, not by making decades of plaque suddenly disappear, but by restarting repair systems that have been inside you all along. So what can actually change in 30 days? To understand that, we have to go inside your arteries. Imagine shrinking smaller than a grain of sand, smaller than a red blood cell, until you're floating inside one of your own arteries. Blood rushes past like traffic on a massive highway. Red blood cells carry oxygen. White blood cells patrol for danger. Platelets drift through the bloodstream, ready to respond if bleeding begins. Everything moves smoothly, almost silently. And one major reason is an incredibly thin layer of cells lining the inside of your artery. It's called the endothelium. This lining is only one cell thick, yet it helps control some of the most important functions in your circulatory system. It helps determine when blood flows smoothly, when vessels widen, when they tighten, when inflammation increases, and when clotting begins. You can think of the endothelium as the traffic control system of your bloodstream. When it's healthy, blood flows across the surface with very little resistance. But this delicate lining is constantly responding to the environment around it. High blood pressure creates repeated mechanical stress. High blood sugar adds metabolic stress. Smoking exposes the lining to harmful chemicals. High levels of LDL particles increase the number of cholesterol-carrying particles circulating through the blood. Poor sleep, chronic stress, physical inactivity, obesity, and aging all can increase the strain placed on this protective layer. Most people imagine atherosclerosis beginning when cholesterol suddenly sticks to an artery wall. But the process is more complicated than that. One of the earliest changes is often endothelial dysfunction. The lining stops behaving as efficiently as it should. Think of a newly paved highway. Traffic moves smoothly across the surface, but over time, tiny defects begin appearing. At first, they're almost invisible, yet they change how the entire road behaves. Something similar can happen inside an artery. As endothelial function declines, one important signaling molecule may also become less available: nitric oxide. Nitric oxide tells the smooth muscle in the artery wall to relax. When more nitric oxide is available, the vessel can widen more easily. When nitric oxide signaling is impaired, the artery can become less flexible. Its ability to respond to changing blood flow declines, and blood pressure may become harder to control. At the same time, LDL particles circulating through the bloodstream can enter the artery wall. Now, LDL itself is not some foreign poison. Your body needs cholesterol. The problem intensifies when LDL-containing particles become trapped within the artery wall and undergo chemical changes. That altered environment begins attracting the attention of your immune system. And your immune system responds exactly the way it was designed to. Specialized white blood cells called monocytes are recruited toward the area. They move into the artery wall, and there they transform into macrophages. Their mission is simple: find the problem, consume it, clear it away. So the macrophages begin swallowing the altered lipid particles again and again and again. But eventually, some of them become overloaded. They fill with lipids until their appearance changes dramatically. Scientists call these overloaded cells foam cells, and collections of foam cells can contribute to one of the earliest visible forms of atherosclerosis, a fatty streak. Here's the unsettling part. Early fatty streaks can develop long before a person has symptoms. They've even been observed in the arteries of teenagers and young adults. At this stage, nothing may hurt. There may be no chest pain, no dramatic warning. Blood still flows. That's one reason atherosclerosis can develop quietly for years. As time passes, the process can become more complicated. More immune cells arrive. More lipid becomes trapped. Smooth muscle cells inside the artery wall begin migrating toward the developing plaque. They help create a fibrous covering over it. Think of road crews arriving to reinforce a damaged section of highway. The body is trying to stabilize the area. But as the plaque grows, the space available for blood can become smaller. Layer after layer, the wall changes, and little by little, blood may have less room to pass through. But here's where many people misunderstand heart attacks. A heart attack does not always happen because an artery slowly closes until absolutely no blood can pass. Sometimes the more dangerous event is sudden. A plaque becomes unstable. Its protective surface cracks or ruptures. The body detects what looks like an injury. Platelets rush toward the area. Clotting begins, and within a short period of time, a blood clot can dramatically restrict or completely stop blood flow. The heart muscle downstream suddenly loses oxygen. That can trigger a heart attack, and plaque rupture is not the only pathway. In some cases, clotting can occur over an eroded plaque surface, even without a dramatic rupture. Either way, the immediate danger may come not simply from how large the plaque is, but from how unstable it becomes. Now comes the question everyone actually wants answered. Can your arteries begin healing? The answer is yes, but probably not in the way internet headlines make it sound. Healing does not mean that years of established plaque suddenly vanish in 30 days. The earliest improvements often happen in function. The endothelium can begin behaving better. One of the first changes researchers often look for is improved endothelial-dependent dilation. In simple terms, the artery becomes better at widening when blood flow increases. One reason involves nitric oxide. Regular physical activity increases blood flow across the vessel wall. That moving blood creates a force called shear stress. Endothelial cells can sense it, and repeated healthy shear stress encourages pathways involved in nitric oxide production. That means the artery may become more responsive, more flexible, and better able to regulate blood flow. At the same time, reducing blood pressure decreases some of the mechanical force repeatedly hitting the vessel wall. Better blood sugar control can reduce metabolic stress. Stopping smoking removes repeated exposure to chemicals that impair vascular function. Improved sleep and exercise can also influence inflammation, insulin sensitivity, and blood pressure. So what might actually happen during the first 30 days? Not necessarily a dramatic visual change on an artery scan. Instead, the biological environment can begin shifting. Nitric oxide signaling may improve. The vessel may respond better to increased blood flow. Blood pressure may improve. Insulin sensitivity may improve. Inflammatory signaling may begin to decrease. In some studies, measurable improvements in endothelial function have been observed after only a few weeks of structured exercise. That is real change. But it is very different from claiming the arteries have been completely cleaned. Your arteries can begin functioning healthier before they look dramatically different, and that leads to another important question. What about the plaque itself? Can plaque ever shrink? Over longer periods, aggressive cardiovascular risk reduction, especially lowering LDL cholesterol, can sometimes stabilize plaque and, in some people, produce modest regression. But that usually happens over much longer periods than 30 days. And plaque stability may matter just as much as plaque size. A healthier plaque can become less inflamed. Its fibrous cap can become more stable. And a stable plaque may be less likely to rupture. So the goal is not simply to imagine scrubbing an artery clean. The goal is to change the environment inside the artery from one that encourages inflammation, injury, and instability to one that favors healthier endothelial function and plaque stability. That is why regular exercise matters, why blood pressure control matters, why blood sugar control matters, why not smoking matters, why sleep matters, and why medications prescribed to reduce cardiovascular risk can be important for people who need them. Not because one healthy choice magically cleans an artery, but because every one of those factors changes the signals your blood vessels experience. Every heartbeat sends force across the endothelial lining. Every meal changes the particles and molecules traveling through your bloodstream. Every walk changes the mechanical signals your arteries receive. Every cigarette avoided removes another chemical assault. Every night's sleep changes the hormonal and inflammatory environment surrounding those vessels. Your arteries notice all of it long before you ever feel a symptom. Inside every artery, millions of microscopic cells are constantly responding: repair or decline, protection or inflammation, stability or damage. 30 days will not erase years of plaque, but 30 days can be enough for some of the earliest biological improvements to begin. And that may be the most important point. Healing often begins long before you can see it. Most people never realize those decisions are happening inside them until scientists uncover them. This is InsideKnow, because the greatest mysteries aren't out in space. They're happening inside you every single second.